Buddha, and the realms of hell and heaven. Once, during his travels, the Buddha arrived at a small village where people had gathered to seek his wisdom. Among them was a man named Jetavana, a wealthy merchant who feared death more than anything else. He approached the Buddha with great hesitation and bowed respectfully before asking, "Great teacher, what happens after death? Is there truly a heaven and a hell?" The Buddha, seeing the worry in Jetavana's heart, smiled gently and said, "Come, let me tell you a story. The king and the two gates long ago, there was a mighty king who ruled over a vast empire. Despite his wealth and power, he constantly feared what awaited him after death. One day, he called upon the wisest sages in his kingdom and commanded, 'Show me heaven and hell so I may understand my fate.' The sages were perplexed. No one could show heaven and hell to the king in a way he would understand. Just as the king began to despair, a wandering monk arrived at the palace and offered his wisdom. 'If you wish to see hell and heaven, follow me,' the monk said. The king, intrigued, ordered his guards to accompany them. They traveled for days until they reached a massive gate guarded by fierce-looking demons with eyes of fire and spears that dripped with poison. The air reeked of suffering, and from behind the gate came the cries of agony. The monk turned to the king and said, 'This is hell.' The king, terrified, peered inside and saw people wailing in despair. Some were consumed by fire, others burdened by unbearable weight. They fought over scraps of food, only for the food to turn into ash in their hands. The more they suffered, the more they hated, and the more they hated, the deeper their pain became. The king recoiled in horror and demanded they leave at once. After traveling further, they reached another gate, glowing with a soft golden light. Inside, people were joyous and at peace. The land was lush, filled with trees that bore the sweetest fruit. There was no suffering, no hunger, only serenity. The monk smiled and said, "This is heaven." The king, in awe, asked, "What is the difference between these two realms?" The monk replied, "Both are made from the mind. In hell, people suffer because of their hatred, greed, and ignorance. In heaven, they are at peace because of their love, kindness, and wisdom. It is not a distant place, but a reflection of what is in our hearts." Jetavana's realization. Jetavana, upon hearing the Buddha's words, trembled. "So, heaven and hell are not places, but states of mind?" The Buddha nodded. "If you cling to greed, anger, and ignorance, you create your own hell. If you cultivate generosity, love, and wisdom, you create your own heaven." Jetavana fell to his knees, realizing that he had been living in fear all his life. From that day forward, he chose to practice kindness and let go of his attachments, knowing that true heaven and hell were within him. And so, the lesson of the Buddha spread through the village, helping all understand that their fate was not sealed by death, but by the choices they made each day.